The TISCO, a great organization in the name of Tata Steels, the revival success, its great revival process has been discussed widely in the management circles. TV Narendran, its managing director and guide and philosopher of this revival success, in his recent interview has wonderfully pointed out what are the causes and what are the important things of his organization which made this success story. Narendran has very clearly pointed out that their integrated culture framework over the generation built in the organization, the confidence of their workmen in the management, that definitely the organization can be revived with the cultural management of that organization. He has given a vivid account of factors which have led to success story. It mainly emphasized on community participation, positive response of the organization, confidence of the workman over generations together, and the organizational leadership. Finally, he said corporate citizenship index. This is one important point which has to be discussed by the managers and keen observers of the industry, which has built up over the cultural foundations, which made the organization to revive into financial viability and give the world of management a success story. So let us discuss about the culture, the role of culture built up by the organization with a long drawn strategy, how it will function, how it will be successful, and what are the basic tenets of this culture building which is required to an organization. The academic literature on the subject is vast. Our views of it revealed many formal definitions of organizational culture and a variety of models and methods for assessing it. Numerous processes exist for creating and changing the culture. Agreement on specifics is sparse across the definitions, but definitely one point is certain: the organizations which have built up terribly good principles of culture, totality of total citizen participation index of that organization as a tenet, have come up very surely a wonderful success story to the world of managers to study and learn from that organization. Then let us see what is the definition of an organization, what is the definition of culture, and why several leaders did not spare much time on building of culture rather than concentrating on tactics of making money and financial expansion of the empire rather than concentrating on a long term policy of building a beautiful culture. Culture is the tacit social order of an organization. It shapes attitudes and behaviors in wide ranging and durable ways of the workman. Cultural norms define what is encouraged, discouraged, accepted, or rejected within a group. When properly aligned with personal values, I repeat the word, when properly aligned with the personal values, drives, and needs, culture can unleash tremendous amounts of energy towards a shared purpose and foster an organization's capacity to thrive in any conditions, in any volatile fluctuations and situations. Culture can also evolve flexibly and autonomously in response to changing opportunities and demands, whereas strategy is typically determined by the C-suite. Culture can fluidly blend the executive are often confounded by culture. It can blend the intentions of the top leaders with the knowledge and experience of frontline employees. Once again, I tell I request all of you to listen this sentence. The intentions of the top leaders with the knowledge and experience of frontline employees. That means bridging a beautiful road, a beautiful bridge between the intentions of the top leaders with the knowledge and experiences of frontline employees. That skill of bridging and avoiding the gap is the tacit capacity of the CEO or the top leadership of an organization in order to take the organization to a frontline managerial circle. Strategy and culture are very important. Primarily, the primary levers at the top leaders' disposal in their never ending quest to maintain organizational viability and effectiveness. Strategy offers a formal logic for the company's goals and orients people around them. Culture expresses goals through values and beliefs and guides activity through shared assumptions and group norms. Strategy provides clarity and forces for collective action and decision making. It relies on plans and sets of choices to mobilize people and can often be enforced by both concrete rewards for achieving goals and consequences for failing to do so. Ideally, it also incorporates adaptive elements that can scan and analyze the external environment and sense when changes are required to maintain continuity and growth. Leadership goes hand in hand with strategy. Leadership goes hand in hand with strategy formation, and most leaders understand the fundamentals. Culture, however, is a more elusive lever because much of it is anchored in unspoken behaviors. Once again, I repeat, much of it is anchored in unspoken behaviors, mindsets, and social patterns. For better and worse, culture and leadership are inextricably linked. Culture and leadership are inextricably linked. Founders and influence leaders often set new cultures in motion and imprint values and assumptions that persist for decades. Over time, an organization's leaders can also shape culture through both conscious and unconscious actions, sometimes with unintended consequences. This is where the role of the top leaders, who are the role of the top influencers, who can build the culture in the interest of the organization with the long association. The main assistance must be taken by the top management from the onlookers, keen observers, senior employees, sometimes even former leaders of the organization who can throw light by keen observing how the organization is functioning, where the loopholes are sitting there in bridging a beautiful bridge between the views of an experienced man and the views of a top leader without any disturbance. Unfortunately, the best leaders who have observed are fully aware that the multiple cultures within which they are embedded can sense when change is required and can deftly influence the process but do not take interest in building the culture for a long and aligning with the strategy which they have developed for developing the organization. In our experience in studying the various organizations, it is far more common for leaders seeking to build high performing organizations to be confounded by culture. Indeed, many either let it go unmanaged. I repeat, indeed, many either let it go unmanaged or relegate it to the other branches of function HR. And there are some leaders who want to build up a culture through finance management. After all, a finance management is an accountability builder, maybe questioning about the investments, ROI, and other thing, but nothing, no leadership if it expects building of culture through the hands of finance manager. I feel it is a fatal flaw which will lead to the fall of an organization. Where it becomes, when it becomes secondary, the culture building, the concern for the business is more thinking more about financial viability and success of the organization financially. We cannot brand a successfully viable organization as an organization with deep cultural foundations. An organization with a beautiful cultural foundation may be lost for some time, but it definitely revived, and because of the fundamental strength of the culture of the organization. This may lay out detailed, thoughtful plans for strategy and execution, but because they do not understand culture's power and dynamics, their plans go off the trails. As someone once said, culture can eat strategy for breakfast. So, the role of culture in building an organization, from the point of view of the long term strategy and success, only can sustain for a long time. That's what it has helped Tisco over a century to sustain, even when it has faced so many oddities, market fluctuations, market violence, several things. But as Narendran pointed out, they are successful only because of its great fundamental cultural foundation and belief of the workman. 5 generations of the workman believed in its management that it has the capacity to revive the organization and bring back the organization into normalcy. Though research and practical experience, through research and practical experience, many leaders of the management have arrived at 5 insights regarding culture's effect on companies' success. Several management experts, theoretically and practically, after studying several organizations, have pointed out when the culture is aligned with strategy and leadership, a strong culture drives positive organizational outcomes. Number 2, selecting or developing leaders for the future requires a forward looking strategy and culture. Choosing the people, keeping the people at correct place, allowing them to grow, giving them training to grow, making them as successful leaders, carving several people as successful leaders, that process will give the organization great strength. If a chief executive, if a top leader chooses to keep always third rate people in and around his C-suite, it will become unfortunate that these sort of people can never build culture and develop the organization by aligning the strategy to the culture and future leading. Temporarily may be successful with a financial viability and financial expansion and impair of that organization, but that organization will face so many problems in the future. In a merger, designing a new culture on the basis of complementary strengths can speed up in integration and create more value over time. This is the era of amalgamations and takeovers of the organization. Whenever a new organization is taken over, they have to amalgamate the cultures and create a new culture, or they must bring back these new organizations' culture into their set of generated and founded culture, integrated in a proper way, so that the organization's amalgamation can be very successful. In a dynamic, uncertain environment, in which the organizations must be more agile. Learning gains important. This learning process is must be a successful contribution by learning and development. Many top leaders, they do not bother about what is being taught, what is the functioning of learning and development. If they neglect learning and development, definitely the long term, in a long term process, they cannot build good leaders with integrated approach and necessary knowledge about the contemporary society and market culture of the country. A strong culture can be a significant liability when it is misaligned with the strategy. This is what is the danger. If the strategy is not correctly aligned with the culture, that will yield into a dangerous situation to any organization. Hence, my intent is, my intense expression is that the top management, specifically the CEO and influencers in an organization, top leaders of the organization, they must concentrate in building culture and aligning strategy with the culture of the organization and lead to success. Definitely, this process will lead the organization for a long term success and sustainability. In my next audios, I will analyze the details of the styles of culture building, variety of factors in my future videos. So, once again, I request every manager to listen to this and read the concerned literature, the role of a culture building, and how culture lead the organizations. The monumental example is the revival of Tisco success story. Financially, the basic foundation is their confidence, the workers' confidence in the organization, and their love towards organization, and their cultural pattern which gave them the strength to bring so many changes for the success. Thank you very much.